Yeah, I wear a tie. Not bad, eh? Italian silk. My name's Lorenzo. I'm a regular Canadian guy. I work, I play, pay taxes, drive a Jeep. I'm usually late for work. I work for municipal government in waste management, and what I try to do is encourage people to be responsible for the waste they create by getting them to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Really, I'm just one of the crowd, an ordinary guy. But last spring at this peace rally, some extraordinary things began to happen to me. I was kicking back, relaxing, and listening to the music. Then I saw a group that was talking about the environment in El Salvador. A woman got up and started speaking in Spanish. My family's Italian, so I kind of understood. And there was a translator, which made it even easier.
30% are mildly contaminated and 10% are moderately contaminated.
It sounded like your typical third world situation. You know, bad government, dirty water, and lots of poverty in some hot, faraway country. I'm sure you've heard it all before. She said that it was the second most environmentally devastated place in the Western Hemisphere. And then they had a war, and thousands of people were killed. Very nasty business. But get this, she also said that she works with an organization that's actually doing something about it. You might think this is crazy, but I signed up to go see the place for myself. It was the first time I'd ever just picked up and gone somewhere like that. It was wild. I didn't know it then, but the people I was about to meet would change the way I thought about a whole lot of things. I went to visit the environmental organization, SESTA, which stands for the Salvadoran Center for Appropriate Technology. I joined a bunch of Canadians on a delegation to find out what SESTA's doing. That's the group that Carmen, the woman I saw at the peace rally, works for. When we first got there, we checked out the countryside. Carmen was right about it being polluted. And were there ever a lot of poor people? It seemed like that's all I could see, was poor people and garbage. I mean, I don't mind garbage, it's my job after all. But this garbage was something else. We stopped by one dump where a guy was feeding his dairy cows. Pretty desperate. I'll have a coffee, please. I mean, it's not all bad news. It used to be a nice place. There's still a bit of that left. Volcanoes, beautiful beaches. The indigenous people called it Cuscatlan, which meant the land of richness. I heard it was lush and tropical back then, with more than enough food for everyone. But now almost all of the original forests have been cut down, replaced by fields of sugarcane, cotton, and coffee, crops exported to us in the north. That's where the tropical forests went. Well, it turns out a few wealthy families own and control most of the land. It's pretty much been that way since the Spanish came in the 15th century and took the land from the indigenous people. Now, most people, like these guys working on the coffee farm, are just working, making a lousy $2 a day. So they stay poor. With no land, they can't even grow their own food. So finally, the poor got fed up with these conditions. Who wouldn't? They protested, demanding their rights and decent working conditions. Instead of looking at the problems, the government responded by sending the army. It eventually led to a 12-year civil war. 75,000 people were killed, and the army just about destroyed the countryside, burning the forests and crops with fire bombs. It was more than just nasty, it was wrong. I didn't go to El Salvador to be Rambo, you know. I guess you could say I was there on a working vacation. I wanted to go down there and teach them something about recycling. I am a recycling coordinator, after all. But it was the woman at the peace rally. Her talk really got me fired up. Carmen told us that most of El Salvador's forests have been cut down. So they're planting a forest. They're calling it the Forest of Reconciliation. The idea is to plant a tree in memory of everyone who died in the war. The forest is a memorial and a solution to the environmental problems. The trees will help stop erosion, attract wildlife. Who knows? The new forest may even bring back the rain. It was one of CESTA's ideas. Their director is Dr. Ricardo Navarro.
The idea is to put all trees for the 75,000 peoples independently on their ideology. So here there may be a tree honoring the memory of a National Guard or a soldier or an FMLN guerrilla, whatever. The idea is that with all those trees, we're going to make a place that it was a war, a violent area. We want to make it into a peaceful area. And the idea is with all these trees, we are going to rehabilitate in ecological and social terms the area. We hope to bring water back with these trees, a better climate with these trees, and also we want to honor the memory of the people who were killed.
What a challenge. Basically creating a forest out of dust. You see, El Salvador used to be a jungle, real tropical, but without any trees to keep the moisture around. It's now so dry, the United Nations has declared it a semi-desert. I've started looking more closely at the water situation. The country gets a lot less rain than it used to, and lots of streams were dry. Those that had water were dirty, polluted from pesticide runoff and industries that dump their waste as they please. I saw one slaughterhouse that dumped their waste right in the river. These guys were washing downstream. They had nowhere else to get water. In another river, this girl was washing corn.
This is where all the wastewater from the factory passes.
And what kind of factories are there?
A rubber plant and leather factory.
So is this water good for drinking?
No.
What does the water have in it?
The water is contaminated with acids from the factory.
I started to see that there was actually a connection between my life and theirs. Like the leather shoes I buy here can mean polluted water there. Or the coffee I just had. I mean, they had to cut down rainforests for this. I couldn't believe it. But me, the regular Canadian guy, could be partly responsible. The doctor had his theory on where all these environmental problems came from.
It has to do with all the interchange of resources between El Salvador and the industrial world. And if you analyze that properly, you will realize that there is a net flow of resources from the south to the north. So even the northern countries are responsible for the problems of the south. Also the south people, of course. All of us are responsible.
I never really thought about it until it was staring me in the face. World trade brings us lots of stuff, while keeping most of the world poor. We don't pay much for things like bananas and coffee at the grocery store, but others pay a big price with their lives and their environment.
You see, it's all connected. You can't look at any one problem in isolation. But the point is that this group SESTA was doing something about the environmental problems.
In San Salvador, the capital city, it's dangerous to breathe. There's too much traffic, too many unregulated industries, no pollution controls. The air is black sometimes. Kids are affected the most. The leading cause of death in children under the age of 5 is respiratory disease. SESTA had a solution to air pollution: bicycles. SESTA's philosophy is simple. They tackle an environmental problem by looking at the cause. If the problem is pollution from cars and industry, they know it's more sustainable and easier to find alternatives like bikes than to clean up dirty air. Meet Jackie, the woman in charge of SESTA's bike shop.
Right now, we are promoting the use of bicycles, producing bicycles and training bicycle mechanics, as well as developing machines which use the bicycle system for energy. Now we have a bicycle water pump, we have bicycle grinders, and other types of things that we think are going to work well in rural communities where there is no electricity.
Tortillas. I ate them 3 times a day when I was there, and so do they. It's a lot of corn grinding. So SESTA started building pedal-powered corn grinders. This is appropriate technology at its finest. They're cheap, made out of local materials, and don't require a technician with 5 years of special training to run the thing. They're easy to understand, a bit like a Stairmaster, but all that energy does something useful. I mean, most equipment needs some kind of a power source. This guy showed us a pedal-powered air compressor that can run all kinds of things, even a dentist's drill.
We were talking the other day with some doctors and dentists. They use compressors to do dental work, and when they go to the rural areas where there is no electricity, they can't work. So this will be an alternative. They bring a compressor, and it's operated by the members of the community who make a game out of it, and at the same time, it's useful.
The basic concept of pedal power and appropriate technology is ingenious and can be used in all sorts of ways. Most of us are really plugged into the network. We've got information coming at us from all over the world. But we're disconnected from the ecosystems that keep us alive. In El Salvador, most people are connected to the ecosystems around them. They live out in the country without electricity, running water, or sewer systems. They live closer to the land, grow their own food, depend on the rivers. If they pollute the environment, they have to live with it. You know, here, we don't even think about it. We just flush the toilets. But there, with no sewage treatment, human waste ends up in the rivers and pollutes the drinking water. It makes the cycle of disease and parasitic infections continue. It's a big health problem. Sewage also upsets the water's equilibrium, making it unfit for aquatic life. A polluted ecosystem means less fish for everyone. Sometimes huge problems can be solved with amazingly simple solutions. In El Salvador, the use of composting toilets has helped stop the contamination of water. We don't think about where it all goes when we flush. But maybe we ought to. Composting toilets. They're simple to build, easy to understand, and they don't pollute the water.
In this kind of latrine, we're doing exactly what nature does. If you look at the human body, nature separates the liquid wastes from the solid wastes because they should not be together. Because when you join them, when you combine them, you get an environment where all the pathogens can spread out. So it's very important to keep them separate. What do? With urine, you mix it with water, and then that you can throw directly to vegetables, to plants, to trees, whatever. And that is good, it's basically nitrogen. Now, with the human feces, you have to cover it with earth. You have to dry it up. You use ash if you have, or lime, or just basic dry material. So in this way, you are avoiding to pollute the underground water, but at the same time you are providing fertilizer. So it has not only ecological advantages, but also economic advantages. And I think this is very important if we try to promote a process that can be sustainable.
The latrines solve one of our big problems. Here in the winter, the water level is very high. If we make the latrines that are traditionally used in rural areas, they fill up to the top with water. So when you sat down, your bum got wet. What we were doing was contaminating the water. The composting latrine solved that problem. The children used to suffer a lot of diarrhea and illnesses. Now with these dry composting latrines, the children don't suffer from diarrhea anymore. We have solved a big problem.
Cleaning up the water has solved a lot of health problems. That's why the latrines were such a hit. That doesn't mean that people don't get sick. And in El Salvador, there aren't a lot of doctors. But health problems don't necessarily need high-tech answers from the north. One solution is to revive traditional knowledge about medicinal plants, putting the power around health and medicines back in the hands of communities. Family garden plots grow a variety of plants to fight parasites, colds, arthritis. Some even work as natural contraceptives. Up here, when I get a headache, I use Noon Approved Strength whatever. Down there, you grow your own remedies.
This cream is made from the romero plant. It's good for rheumatism and muscular pain. Good after a long day of work. My dad always uses it. And there are men that come from other towns asking for medicine. They have tried this one and they say it's good.
The medicines people make from the plants are sold to the community, and they cost a lot less than drugs from a pharmacy. SESTA and the communities are also reviving the use of local plants that can be used to make natural pesticides. They kill the bugs, but not the environment. These organic treatments aren't persistent chemicals, so no poisons are left on their food, in their water, or on their kids.
You remember I told you I worked in waste management? Well, look at all this garbage back here. Did you know that here in the so-called developed world, we produce almost 10 times more garbage than they do in the South? But here, we don't think about it because someone just comes and takes it away.
In El Salvador, there are few government-organized services, so it piles up around communities. In a way, El Salvador already recycles its garbage. Many people are poor, and some even live in the garbage dumps, searching for anything of value. I had heard about this kind of thing before, but seeing children ripping open plastic bags of garbage was a bit much. We need to recycle, but not with that kind of social price tag. Many of these people will die just from inhaling the toxic fumes from the burning garbage. Sylvia works on solutions to garbage.
This is the typical treatment we give to garbage in the cities of El Salvador. All types of garbage are brought here: plastic, paper, and organic material. And you see, it's all wasted. They deal with garbage by burning it, together with plastics and dangerous materials. The danger is that the community around here will breathe this smoke.
To clean up and help stop all the waste, one community organized a recycling program and succeeded in cutting their garbage in half, something we haven't yet achieved where I live. Meet Layla.
The fellows who run the recycling program have a cart with a green and an orange barrel. They collect the garbage in the green one and the recyclable in the orange barrel. The recyclable are paper, plastic, cardboard, tin cans, and everything that is metal.
Cooking's another story. For me, it's easy. I just have to turn on a knob. But down there, the women spend a few hours each day collecting firewood for fuel. They're cutting down the few trees that are left to cook with. But they found a solution, and it was right in their own backyard. The sun.
At the beginning, we had our doubts, but now we've seen that it's true. Cooking with a solar oven is very easy. We save money using this oven, and we don't need firewood, so we avoid the problems caused by cutting trees. This stove solves many of our problems.
Sesta is using the sun's energy to stop deforestation in other ways. Adobe bricks made of mud and straw are promoted for building houses, instead of lumber or clay bricks that need to be fired in an oven. Cement is used to make roofing tiles. They don't need to be fired in a kiln burning trees or old car tires as fuel. They just dry in the sun. I realized that a big part of what Sesta is doing is just thinking things through and carefully weighing the impact of one choice over another, a process we need to do more of. Walking hours to get firewood, health issues, bad water, everyone's problems are different. So Sesta sits down with community members and discusses how to create a program to solve their problems. By now I'd figured it out. Social issues, poverty, and the environment. You just can't solve one without dealing with the others. On the coast of El Salvador, communities are making the connection between environmental and social issues. The coast was covered in mangroves, trees that live where the ocean meets the land. Mangroves are at the heart of this ecosystem, a safe place where fish and crabs and shrimp all breed. But over 95% of the mangroves have been cut down, mostly to create fields for cotton or cattle. When the mangroves go, there's no place for the fish to live. No fish means no income for the local communities. Sesta has been working with local people to replant the mangroves. Meet Israel.
This mangrove is practically life for crabs, fish, and shrimp. Right now, we are building awareness in the local area. We are giving workshops asking that if people cut one tree, they plant two. We are asking people to collect seeds during the dry season so we can plant them later. We are going to reforest this whole area.
You know, I thought I was going to be able to teach them something about recycling, but I was the one that ended up learning. You know, these guys are onto something. They're not just fixing things. They're getting at the root causes of the problems. But that's not to say that everything's under control in El Salvador. Sesta and groups like it are a minority, trying to change the attitudes of a lot of people. But education is a powerful tool. When people understand how and why they're doing something, they're more likely to teach it to others and to their children, the next generation. That's the way long-term change will take place. It'll take a while, so after every success, communities know what to do. They celebrate every victory. This was the party after the composting toilets were finished in this community. Well, it's been a long trip, and I bet you've been wondering why I've been telling you about it. You know, the truth is, my trip to El Salvador was short and intense, and I didn't really learn a whole lot about the technological solutions that it's going to take us to fix this planet. But what I did learn about was attitude, like the spirit of hope that the people of El Salvador have for their forest of reconciliation. You see, they're not just teaching their kids how to plant trees. They're teaching them that they're part of the solution.
We don't need to just plant trees. We need to have an awareness and an attitude to preserve the environment. So we're building tree nurseries and working especially with young people.
We're planting trees for the compañeros who died in the war, for all the people who were massacred. Each tree represents one Salvadoran who died.
I was really shocked when I first got to El Salvador. I thought we had problems at home, but this place looked like it was in crisis. I don't quite know how, but these people keep going. There they were, planting tree seedlings in this rocky, parched soil, watering them by hand.
Well, I am hopeful and I am optimistic that things can be turned around. We don't have much time, but on the other hand, if we don't have hope, what else? You know, there is nothing left. We gotta have hope. As long as we're alive, there is hope.
It's pretty incredible. They just don't give up. They remember how El Salvador used to be, with forests, wildlife, and clean water. I kept thinking, if they're so optimistic, if they can change things around, then we better get cracking up here too.
We're in the same boat, you know. Some people may be first class, some people second class, some people third class. If the boat collapses, it won't matter who is going first class and who is going second class. All of us are going to suffer.
You know, we have all the technology we need to live sustainably and to share this planet in a way that's fair. We just have to decide to do it. You, me, we're the ones that can start making the changes in our own lives. In El Salvador, everyone has a part in solving their country's problems. And the thing is, it's working. Imagine what could happen if we did that here. Oh look, they're rolling the credits. Well, that means we've only got 30 seconds. And in 30 seconds, I'm going to show you a way that you can be part of saving over 2 billion liters of water a year. Take 2 1-liter milk bottles, fill them with water, go to the back of your toilet tank, put them into the back of the toilet carefully. There, I've displaced 2 liters of water. I flush the toilet 10 times a day, that's 20 liters of water. 365 days in a year, that's 7,300. If I live in a city of 300,000 people, that's over 2 billion liters of water a year. So let's just do it.